Hello and welcome to another edition of the RotorHub International Podcast, and that's presented by me, Gideon Ewers. I'm the editor of RotorHub International. Today I've been, made the journey to the far north, to Blackpool, and in fact the offices of HeliSpeed. And with me today is none other than Geoff Packer. Geoff and I are talking training, and more specifically the sort of stuff that has been happening up here at HeliSpeed to actually improve the efficiency of training. I mean, a lot of people talk about how training can be improved. Geoff, you guys have been doing it.
We've been trying our best. We've tried to use our years of experience of being in the helicopter training industry and trying to improve it and make it more slicker, if you want to call it that, more efficient. And also as well to embrace the modern ways of doing things on the cloud, and also as well hopefully coming up with a way that we can standardise training and deliver it in a more constructed way.
And you talk about years of training. Now let's go back and be clear how long that is. I mean, you're a former Bristow TRI, TRE. You know training up one side, back down the other. Let's talk a little bit about your thoughts on training and how that landscape needs to evolve.
Well, I started training helicopter pilots when I was about 35 years of age. I'm now 73 years of age, unfortunately. And it hasn't really changed all that much. The syllabus has changed a lot. The CA requirements have changed a lot. But the way that we deliver the training is still the guy stood in front of the students or the student in the front of the classroom, using whiteboards, using projectors, using PDF copies of things and giving it in the way that he would normally give it to, what he's done for the last 20 years or more. That to me seemed a really, really inefficient way of delivering the training. So we revisited it, and what we've tried to do is we've tried to come up with a program, if you want to call it that actually helps the instructor deliver the training more effectively, involves the student at a much earlier level, i.e. when he's at home, when he's sat in his hotel room, when he's actually relaxing at home, he can actually go on to his own student training course. And when the instructor is actually delivering that course. So we've tried to use computer technology and the cloud in particular to be able to give us all the benefits of modern ways of doing things and technology, but still encompasses the core skills of the instructor in that he stands in front of the class and delivers it. But then we want to be able to record the student's progress. We want to store that digitally. We want to be able to analyse it. We want to be able to be in a position where we can effectively look at the data that says, well, we're doing it this way or we could do it better that way, and we come up with some constructive ways of actually delivering that training better.
Yeah, and I've been lucky enough to just walk me through the system this morning, and I've seen it in action, how it works. But what struck me is the ability to come at the problem from both directions. If a student is struggling with a particular element of the syllabus, you can look at the data and say, well, is this a question of the student struggling and maybe we need to take a different approach, or is it more systemic? Is it the way we're teaching?
Yeah, I think you're right there, Gideon, but it's a little bit more fundamental than that. It's in that we need to create a course which addresses everybody's requirements. Nowadays, everybody wants to put their sixpennyworth into a course, and if it's not the authorities, it's the customer, and if it's not the customer, it's the person who delivers it. And then we've got all the research that backs what we're actually saying within the course, so we need to create all the references. And we need to bring all that and collate all that information together into one central place where this instructor can actually utilise that information. And then once we've given it, and we've given that information and the students absorbed it, then we need to appraise what his absorption rate is and has he absorbed it correctly. has it been a benefit to him? What was his grade that he actually got? And also as well, what is the actual grade of the overall students that go through this training course? Because we've got to actually look at our training course as well. So we need, all that information and all that background data needs to be filled in, and we also need to be monitoring ourselves as a training provider as well to make certain that we're actually delivering the best possible training experience to the students.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because one of the things that's a real breakthrough that you guys have had in recent months is you're certainly you are the first in Europe to be authorized to use simulation to cover parts of the ab initio phase, the private level phase of flight training, which some will say is something that still needs to be discussed and agreed about for many more years, but you're actually doing it and you have UK CAA approval.
Yeah, we have it for the ab initio training. We also have it for the commercial pilot training as well. But we've got that through the ability of our training courses, which are based on the cloud and which have instant access by the student, the instructor, and also as well the training organisation to be able to modify it. We have that training course, which now gives us the feedback and the information that actually improves the course and controls the course. So whereas in the past, things were done via PDF and by copies and writing pieces of paper, and basically nobody saw the light of day at the end of it, and the information that was stored on it was in somebody's drawer and it was never collated and it was never put together and used the way it should be used. We have that ability now to be able to use that information and to make better training courses and learn at the end of every training course, where could we actually do better? How has the student benefited from that part of training? How can we make that training experience even better the next time we give it? And that's what we've been able to do, and that's what we've demonstrated to the Civil Aviation Authority. They've agreed, and they've allowed us the ability to be able to do ab initio training in the simulator and commercial pilot training as well.
And it's those sort of elements, those things that are just, basically too dangerous to do in the aircraft that, are in the ab initio phase. You can now carry out with CAA approval those scenarios, which, we talked about earlier, and you've just demonstrated to me in the simulator, or I just demonstrated to you, even as an instrument rated pilot, how to fly into a hill, trying to avoid icing, for example. But those sort of things, early recognition of a developing scenario, that we can talk about it, but it's when someone experiences it, that's when they gain the real benefit. Yeah,
I think you're right there. But for us being pilots, you're a pilot as well as me, and I'm no doubt we've got a lot of pilots listening to your podcast now. But it's very easy for us to say, because we have the experience, oh, you don't want to fly in this area because X, Y, Z happens. But how can you actually pass that knowledge and that experience on to somebody else who's never experienced it? Being in the aircraft's not the right place to experience it. Surely being in a safe simulator that you can crash numerous times has got to be the most advantageous place to be. And what we've done is we've tried to create, or we have created, I should say, scenarios where we put people into that environment where they should be making a decision early, but they'll press on until such a time, whereas they're at the point of no return, where it's now belt and braces, and invariably they'll crash the helicopter. Well, it's much better doing that in the simulator and experiencing it in the simulator than it is in the real aircraft. And besides that, we can't actually give them that experience. The only time they will gain that experience is when they're in that environment where they shouldn't be, because the instructor will never allow them to be in that scenario. So how are they going to get that experience that says, oh, at this stage, this is the point where you should now make the decision not to go forward, turn round, do an emergency landing, or whatever it is that they need to do. So if we can give them that at the really, really, really early stages, it allows them to be more proactive and say, no, I've learnt in the simulator, this is where I need to be, this is what I need to do, and I need to turn around, go back, or whatever it is the outcome is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is having almost like the courage, developing the courage to make the no-go decision. You know, it's. I remember when I was first starting to fly, one instructor saying to me, you know, the hardest decision in flying is knowing when to stay on the ground. And it's even harder once you're in the air. You know, that whole thing of, we talked about earlier, oh, we'll just pop up and have a look. That scenario, it's already setting you up into painting that corner, and it's gaining that experience. And how do people gain that experience that gives them the tool to say, no, I see how this is going to play out. My best option is to do this, and I better do it right now, whether that's turn, precautionary landing, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think that we use all the tools correctly that we have. Normally, in a small training school, they would have a helicopter and an office and a whiteboard, and those are the three things that they would actually utilise to actually train a student. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I mean, that's how I started many, many years ago. But, you know, things have moved on a little bit, and we've now got better tools. We've got better ways of passing the knowledge on. And what we don't want to be doing is we don't want to be training people how not to do things in a helicopter that can either kill themselves, or they can damage the helicopter, or they can damage other people. So surely it's got to be better to use other tools that we can master, and we can allow them to gain the knowledge of. Unfortunately, simulators are really expensive. They're really temperamental as well. And we need the skills for the people to actually use the simulator to be able to pass over that knowledge. But they are there, and they are available, and it's a matter of saying, well, we need this tool to do this job, and we need this tool to do the other job. People are always telling me, oh, we can't teach students how to fly in a simulator, it just doesn't work. Well, there are things that you wouldn't teach people to do in a simulator. Hovering's one of them, in my opinion. I wouldn't want to teach somebody how to hover a helicopter in a simulator. I think it's a complete waste of time. It's it just doesn't represent what a helicopter is. But then again, I wouldn't want to teach somebody how to fly in snow and ice. Sorry, I should say, in a degraded visual environment in the real helicopter. I wouldn't want to train somebody how to do tail rotor control failures in a real helicopter. But we can show them what it's like to have those emergencies in the simulator, which performs much, much better than in the real helicopter. As vortex ring, deep incipient vortex ring, for instance, we wouldn't want to teach that in a helicopter, and it's quite easy in the simulator, and it allows the student to carry on with the exercise all the way up to crashing the helicopter, to show them what that particular scenario is, what that scenario is like, and so consequently, if we can pick the right tool to do the right job at the right time, then it's got to be good for everybody. And if we can use the simulator better, then I think we should. And I think as the simulator being used in a PPL training course is fantastic. It's much, much better than not having a simulator during the course. It's much more beneficial for the student to actually see these things in the simulator, where you can replicate the same problem time after time after time. And it saves a lot of time. In an example would be a vortex ring. You would typically go up to 2,000, 3,000 feet, and then you would show the incipient stage of vortex ring, and then you would recover and then go back up to 2,000, 3,000 feet again. Well, when in the simulator, you just press the button and immediately you're at 3,000 feet. You don't have to fly out anywhere, and you go down to whatever height you need to, and press the button again, and you're away again, numerous times. So it's more efficient, and I think it's more representative of what the training exercise is actually trying to teach that particular student at that particular time.
And that's the kind of the core message, really, isn't it? When you think about training, training isn't just a mean. I think sometimes it gets lost a bit. Training is not just a means to itself. There is an end state, which is to make pilots safer. And that's the fundamental. What is the most effective way to make this pilot safer when they're out flying around, pilot in command. Being presented with scenarios that they may or may not have seen before. And as we all know, if you can look at it, if you've seen that scenario before, you're infinitely more likely to come up with the correct solution than trying to figure it out all in one go. Unusually, and I'm people who know me will say I'm never shy about criticising regulators, but it does seem to be something where from what you were describing earlier, your experience with the CAA and showing them this is what we want to do and this is why we want to do it, and they were very sanguine about it. They looked at it and said, yeah, that's fine, which is not like them.
Well, there's nobody more surprised than I was, that's for sure. What happened with us was we went to the regulator initially and said, look, we'd like to start using a simulator in the PPL and the CPL training syllabus. And the regulator went, well, yes, show us the manual and we'll approve it or not. So what we did is we went away and re-looked at the training syllabus and basically rewrote it. And so we're in the position of there is 5 hours which can be used within the training syllabus of a PPL to reduce it from 45 to 40, which we utilised. But we had to take elements out of the syllabus and replant them into the simulator. And those primarily being degraded visual environment, a vortex ring, tail rotor control failures, and also dynamic rollover. So we utilised those 4 things and said they were too dangerous to try in the helicopter. It was a risky manoeuvres that we didn't need to take. And so we basically took those elements out of that training syllabus and then slotted those into the simulator and came up with training plans for the simulator, which obviously addressed those areas. We then rewrote the syllabus. This process took us around about 8 months to do, and then fired it off to the CAA, expecting that to come back and say no, and with lots and lots of red light writing all over it. And that didn't happen. It actually came back and he said, yep, it's great, absolutely fantastic, there's your updated certificate. And so they couldn't really be more helpful. Totally different with the EASA, because when we were European Rotors in 2025, there were various seminars where EASA was turning around and saying, oh, it's going to be years before we're in a position, we need the data. We need to be in a position whereas we can prove that it works. We're going to have to rewrite the syllabuses. The future is looking good, but it's going to take a number of years before we're in a position to push it forward. And basically it was just a delay after delay. And so at the end of the actual seminar that they had, I actually stood up and said, well, the future's already here. It's based in the UK and we're already doing it. CAA has approved it. And we're producing the data, and if there's anything we can do to help EASA, they can come and have a look. We can show them a syllabus, we can show them the data, and they can have as much information as they want from it. As yet, we haven't had the phone call from EASA taking up us on our offer, but it's still there if they want to use it. And it would appear as though the UK CAA literally years in front of EASA.
So it would seem, EASA, it can be done if you want to. Just give Geoff here a call and he will help you on your path. Time, as always, has beaten us. There's always a lot to talk about in the training space. whether that's ab initio, continuing, advanced, or recurrent. It just is a story that never ends until your medical expires at 60 or 65, depending on where you are. But that, unfortunately, is all we have time for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and more especially thanks to Geoff for having me up here, seeing the facility here at HeliSpeed in Blackpool. It's very smart and posh, I have to say. Been a joy to come and see what Geoff's been telling me about. I mean, we first started talking about this a couple of years ago, more probably 3-4 years ago. But it's great to see it in coming to fruition and a happening state. So, Geoff, thanks very much for your time and your insight.
My pleasure, and we'll welcome anybody who likes to come up and visit us, have a look at the simulator, have a look at our training programs. More importantly, even have a look at our computer system called Train Tracks, which supports all our training. And we're more than happy to share that with anybody. And we are looking for people to actually start utilising our bespoke system called Train Tracks. But thank you very much for taking the time to visit us.
Not at all. My pleasure, as always. And, of course, everybody remember that Blackpool is the party capital of the Northwest. That's it for this episode. We'll join us again for another episode of the RotorHub International Podcast. Until then, keep the blue side up and fly safe.